When you're moving to a new place, you're gonna have questions. So I thought I'd go through the top 10 most common questions that I get asked on a daily basis. And number 9 is pretty much one that every single person asks. So the first question is about the alligators. People want to know if there's alligators everywhere. And honestly, no, there's not alligators everywhere, but they do have the potential to be pretty much anywhere where there is water. So that's going to be something you want to be on the lookout for. There are specific areas and parts of town where if you want to see gators, you can go there and check them out. But when it comes to your day-to-day life, going to school, grocery store, running errands, and going to work, gators are not a concern and something that you really don't have to worry about. Now, if you enjoy outdoor activities, hiking, kayaking, any water sort of activities, you are going to want to talk to some of the locals and figure out if it's an area where there are gators. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you're better just to assume that anywhere there is water, there's a chance there's a gator around. So be prepared for that. The next question I get on a regular basis is people wanting to know if Gainesville's just another college town. And while yes, the university definitely brings a lot to the area, including jobs, culture, energy, and sports, and all of that's great, Gainesville definitely is more than just the University of Florida. Once you get a little bit outside of that campus bubble, you can start to see what everyday life here really looks like. You've got parks, established neighborhoods, families, retirees, and local businesses. So yes, campus life is here if that's what you're looking for, but there is also a whole community of people who have nothing to do with that campus life, and they actually love living here. So next, people want to know about homeowners insurance. They're hearing all over the place that Florida is extremely expensive and the home insurance market is just going insane here. Now, it has gone up for sure, but Gainesville specifically is not as expensive as a lot of the other parts of Florida. Luckily, because we're not on the coast and we don't get hit that bad with hurricanes, it's not that bad. For a typical home, a normal age range, nothing crazy, not in a flood zone, you can expect to pay roughly $2,000 for that insurance premium. Now, there are a lot of variables, like I mentioned, if it falls in a flood zone, or maybe it's extremely old or needs a roof replacement. Some of those specialty factors are going to cause it to bump up, but in general, it's not that expensive. Along those same lines, another question I get is, does Gainesville get hit by hurricanes? Luckily, that centralized location really insulates us from a lot of the major storms. We're about 70 miles from the Gulf side, 75 from the Atlantic side. And so by the time storms get to us, they're usually relatively weak. They're not the massive storms that the coastline sees. We will see some tropical storms, an occasional hurricane, but for the most part, the majority of damage is going to come from some of the winds. We'll get down trees and a little bit of flooding, some power outages, but you don't have to worry about boarding up windows or your roof flying off. That's just not the type of storms we see here in Gainesville. So the next question I get is about public education and the school system here. Real quick, if you're new to the channel, my name is Donovan Arnold, and I was born and raised here in Gainesville. I've been helping people buy and sell real estate for more than a decade, and I put out these videos to share with you exactly what you can expect if you're moving to the area. So if you're thinking about relocating, feel free, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. Let me know what questions you have and how I can help. School system here in Gainesville. Of course, Gainesville is known for the University of Florida. We've also got Santa Fe College, so some great higher level education. But when it comes to public schools, it's definitely something you're going to want to do your research on. I will say it's kind of case by case, and it doesn't just vary school to school, but I mean from classroom to classroom. We've got 3 boys that all went to public elementary school here, and we had some amazing teachers, and for the most part, we really liked the school. It was considered an A-level school, but we also had a few challenging years with a few challenging teachers who are kind of checked out and didn't want to be there. So even though a school may be rated really high or really low, it's really going to be case by case. You're going to want to talk to locals, maybe talk to some people on the PTA, resource officers. Definitely do some extra homework here and dive into the schools because it can vary widely. One factor that's really affecting the local schools is going to be the Step Up program, allowing families to basically opt out of the public schools and go and get some voucher money to go in homeschooling or private school options. So Gainesville and Alachua County has definitely seen a decrease in its public school enrollment, and a big part of that has to do with the Step Up program. Now, the next one has to do with the food scene here in Gainesville. And I get asked all the time if there's a lot of good local food options and local mom and pop restaurants. And unfortunately, I got to be honest, the food scene here is not going to knock your socks off. As you're driving around town, you'll definitely notice all the big major chains and everything kind of looks the same. With that said, Gainesville does have a lot of great local options. There's just probably not as many as a lot of people would like. I don't want to downplay it because some of the restaurants here have been here for a while and they do a really good job. But this is definitely an area where Gainesville could continue to grow. Every year we do see some new local restaurants coming in, but those big chains are definitely squeezing out some of the mom and pops, especially post-COVID. So this is an area where I'd love to see Gainesville grow a little bit more and get even more great local food options. But it's one thing to keep in mind if that's really important to you. So this next question has been catching a lot of headlines recently, and it has to do with property taxes. People asking how much property taxes are in Alachua County. Of course, the governor recently has been making a lot of headlines as he's pushing to try to remove property taxes in the state of Florida. Now that's a whole different conversation in another video, but currently in Alachua County, you can expect your property taxes to range from about 1.3 to 1.5% of the assessed value when you're looking at homes. That's just going to give you a rough number and an idea to play with. If you're looking at a $400,000 home, I would expect the property taxes to range around $5,500 just as a ballpark estimate. So the next question I get all the time is going to be about finding community and like-minded people. Gainesville is a relatively small town, about 150,000 in population, but this is one area where people are actually pleasantly surprised. Gainesville is very active. There's a ton of people doing interesting, unique, creative things. And so finding community really isn't that hard as long as you're willing to plug in. Whether you're into fitness, hiking, the arts, whatever it may be, church, any of those sort of general categories, there are definitely groups of people getting together, hanging out, and things going on. So I'd say as long as you're willing to do a little bit of research, have some conversations, if you're looking for community, that's definitely something you can find here in Gainesville. So this next question is the one that I referenced at the very beginning that just about everyone asks. And people want to know, is Gainesville safe? This comes up all the time. And Gainesville's like pretty much every other city out there. It has its fair share of crime. If you're looking at the crime stats online, honestly, they can look a little concerning. And there's different reasons for that. And I've done some different videos on that, interviewing police officers and whatnot. So you can check those out. But I will say there are definitely safe areas where people enjoy living, where crime is not really a concern and doesn't really come up in their day-to-day life. So you'll want to do as much research as possible. And again, talking to locals, doing a few steps beyond just those crime statistics will give you a much better feel for what's going on in the area and what you can expect if you live here when it comes to crime. It really comes down to choosing the right area and the right neighborhood that's going to be a good fit for you. And that leads us right into the next question, which is what are going to be the best areas to live in Gainesville? And that is sort of a personal question. It depends on you and your situation. But to figure out the best area for you, I'd say you want to go ahead and watch this video because I break down the different parts of town and what you can expect from each. And after you watch that entire video, I guarantee you'll definitely have a far better feeling and gauge for what Gainesville is like and what it looks like to live here.